Hello, my name is Andy Pitts, and I am going to be talking about the ISO 9000 project that was completed by myself, Zach Johnson, Jill Mickelson, Curtis Holt, and Brian Lilburn. First, I'm going to start off by giving a little background of the ISO project. It stands for International Organization of Standardization. The headquarters is located in Switzerland, and it was established in 1947. This consists of 140 countries, producing more than 13,000 international standards for business. There are also 180 technical committees on the project. The organization develops standards for everything from electronics to management systems. Each nation also has one vote in the organization. A brief history of the actual ISO 9000 series is that it was first made in 1987. It had 3 models for quality management, and this was just in the first development of it. It basically made sure everyone followed their procedures and they were all recorded. Before 1994, it didn't really emphasize quality at all, but in 1994 they started focusing on quality a little bit more. The 2000 version combined the 3 models of the 1987 version into one. The purpose of the ISO 9000 is to ensure that the processes of making the product are documented and performed in high quality. This does not guarantee quality, however. It does make sure that all the steps are documented and followed. Now here's a little brief history about the actual ISO series. The first ISO, the ISO 9001 section of the series, covered design and development of a product. The ISO 9002 covers production, installation, and service. The ISO 9003 covers the final testing and inspecting of the product. Now, how exactly does the ISO 9000 work? It's a setup of a collection of guidelines that help a company establish, maintain, and improve a quality management system. It is important to emphasize that ISO 9000 is not a rigid set of requirements, and that organizations have flexibility in how they implement their quality management system. This freedom allows the ISO 9000 standard to be used in a wide range of organizations and in businesses large and small. Now, these are a couple things that must be done in order for someone to get certified. There are various audits that can be done as a check of the effectiveness of your quality management system. There are 3 main types of audits: the first, second, and third-party audits. An internal audit is a first-party audit. This is something that is done inside your company, and it's not very credible. It is highly encouraged so companies can get feedback from those who know the company best. However, it can be viewed as impartial, like I said. The second-party audits allow for a customer to evaluate the performance of an organization. The third-party audits are done by companies most of the time. They do this to avoid the second-party audit, so that some dissatisfied customer does not end up doing that audit. In this case, they have an independent certification body that comes into the organization and evaluates it. If the company meets all the requirements, they become certified. There are also 8 management principles that you need to focus on. The first one is to focus on your customers. This means that organizations rely on customers, so they should understand customers' needs, meet their customers' requirements, and exceed their expectations. The second principle is that you should provide leadership. Leaders should establish a unity of purpose and set the direction the organization should take while creating an environment that encourages people to achieve the organization's objective. The third principle is to involve your people. Organizations rely on people, so they should encourage their involvement at all levels, and they should help people develop and use their abilities. The fourth principle is to use a process approach. Organizations are more effective when they use a process approach to manage activities and related resources. The fifth principle is to take a systems approach. Organizations should identify interrelated processes and treat them as a system to create efficiency within the organization. The sixth principle is to encourage continual improvement. Organizations you make a commitment to to continually improve their overall performance. The seventh principle is to get the facts before you decide. They should always base their decisions on the analysis of factual information and data. The eighth principle and last principle is to work with your suppliers. Organizations rely on their suppliers to create value, so it is important that they maintain a mutually beneficial relationship with those suppliers. In order to be valid for the ISO 9000, there are also 12 processes that you need to look at. The first major process is the quality management process. This process can involve product and process quality, as well as quality planning and quality control. The next major process is the resource management process. This is important because businesses need proper management of their resources. The training and awareness process is next. This is important to reduce the amount of risk in certain processes within the organization. The next process is the product purchasing process. This ensures that the purchases product will conform to requirements. The design and development process is the next one. This involves the design and development of the product. It can involve inputs, outputs, review, and verification. The production management process is next. This typically involves the controlling of activities that are necessary to make a product. The service provision process is after that one. This is how the service, which is a non-material good, is provided by an employee. After that comes the product management process. This involves the marketing, sale, and development of a product. This is necessary to advertise your product. After that comes the customer relationship management process. This helps understand customer needs and build relationships with those customers. The next process for the ISO 9000 plan is the internal quality management process. This measures the effectiveness and efficiency of an organization's quality management. The monitoring and measuring process comes next. This process involves the collection of data as well as the supervision of progress within the business. The final major process is the management review process. It is a process that is performed to analyze the effectiveness of a company's system. For each one of these 12 processes, there is also 9 steps that need to be passed. The first step is to develop. This could involve anything such as figuring out how to review process operations can be effective. The next step is to document. This involves collaborating your plan into documentation form. Next, you need to maintain the process. In this step, you must maintain the process by using different methods depending on what you are doing. Monitoring is the next step. By monitoring, you can make sure that your plan for the process is being implemented properly and is achieving the planned results. The next step is to measure. For this step, you must collect data to figure out where you can improve your process. This could involve collecting data to help improve customer relationships. Analyzing is next. For this step, you must identify, plan, and provide information on how analytical methods can be used to continually improve your process. Control is the next step. This step will allow you to create and develop methods which allow you to control your process. The final step is to improve. For this step, you must plan how you are going to continually improve your process. These 9 steps must be done once again for every single one of the 12 processes in order to become certified. There are also various criticisms of the ISO 9000. One of those is that many critics say the ISO 9000 is a European standard only. Even though the International Organization of Standardization is based in Switzerland, it is comprised of industry groups from many industries worldwide. The U.S. industry is strongly represented, and the ISO 9000 has been adopted by over 80 countries. Another criticism is that a lot of companies think that the ISO 9000 is only for large companies because smaller companies can't afford it. However, when companies realize the standard's intent, it becomes clear that the standard requires a simple, logical quality system, appropriate to any size company. The third criticism is that there is a lack of continual improvement. One common criticism of the standard is that all the company needs to receive and maintain compliance is paperwork and a bureaucracy to guard it, while the product quality remains unimportant. Although the standard does not require continuous improvement, it does require a system for review and correction, and implementation of corrective and preventive actions, which in essence, from the Deming Plan to Do Check Act continuous improvement loop. Another one is that many critics argue that the ISO 9000 is outdated and that most organizations operate well above the standard's requirements. Organizations such as these represent only a small minority of U.S. companies. The majority of organizations are likely to find that not only are they missing some elements of the basic quality system defined by the standard, but also their registration will provide the necessary proof of their quality system level for their customers and potential customers. Some problems with the ISO 9000s are that critics have long complained that a company could make concrete life preservers and still be registered to the ISO 9000. Also, the ISO 9000 in the 1994 version defines quality around 20 key elements that a company uses to effectively and consistently produce products and services it provided customers. The problem with this is that it was designed for application to manufacturing companies that produce widgets, making it very difficult to apply to processing companies and service organizations. Another thing is that the 4 sections in the updated standard contain all the requirements for the new ISO, but stated in more generic and less perspective terms than in the previous 20-element model. This is a lack of specifics make it easy for enterprises for all sorts to fit their operation to the new ISO. The last problem is that another thing is that The ISO 9000's major benefit is that it assures the customer that their suppliers have at least a fundamentally quality system that will help ensure quality in products or services produced, and that it's based on the same standard used by their other suppliers worldwide, instead of each country having different standards with different criteria and different results. This is the end of the presentation of the ISO 9000 project. And here is our bibliography.